I'd like to have Jason explain what we have done first, please.
So board secretary in the past has typically been the executive director of the district. The board treasurer has typically been a member of the board. The assistant board treasurer has usually been our superintendent of business services. Legal counsel in the past has been Ansel Blink. FOIA officers have been myself, or the executive director, and Sender, the executive secretary. Open Meetings Act officer has been the executive director. Mr. Board of Directors, the executive director has served on that, and then Chris Lake Park Initiative Foundation, a representative from the park board is sat on that foundation as a non-board member.
Okay, well, I think we'll go through them.
That's fine.
Yeah. So I think that we're on secretary. Anybody have a nomination for secretary?
I'd like to nominate Jason Herbster for secretary.
Any other nominations for secretary?
I'd like to nominate Rich Hickey.
Any other nominations? Okay, how many want Jason Herbster? Okay, how many want Rich Hickey? Like Rich Hickey is the secretary. Okay. Treasurer, I think the past treasurer was Jason Heisler. So any nominations for treasurer?
I'd like to nominate Jason Heisler.
Any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, I think Jason Heisler is going to continue as the treasurer. Assistant board treasurer, who is that now?
It's usually Tina, independent business services.
Anyone opposed to Tina continuing as assistant treasurer? Hearing none, I think that you're the assistant treasurer.
Thank you.
Legal counsel. Anybody have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to switch gears and change legal counsel to Scott Anderson.
I would like to stay with Ansel Glink. Ansel Glink is the preeminent law firm for park districts within the state of Illinois. We know what we get. We have no clue what we'll get with Eric Anderson's law firm, nor will we know what the cost will be. And the mere act of nominating one of your friends who just left the board to serve as our law firm kind of reeks of old boys school, where all you who have now taken officer positions have never been on the board. I have never seen you at a
I
board
would like to
meeting.
keep your comments professional and not direct them at anyone.
Oh, these are so professional, because what is being proposed here is the opposite of professionalism. If we are going to examine looking at a different law firm, we need to go through a process of having an open call and looking at other law firms. So we know what we're getting, and we're getting fair representation. We know what it costs, and we know what that party is bringing to the table. Nominating a law firm where we do not know that is irresponsible to every member of the park district.
Okay, any other discussion?
I would wholeheartedly agree with what Kathy mentioned.
All right, so all in favor of, or all opposed to changing? Okay, all in favor of changing to Sal Anderson? There, we go.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Been a pleasure working with all of you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Anybody opposed to continue with the same FOIA officer? Hearing none, I think we'll stay with the same FOIA officer. Open Meetings Act officer. Anybody opposed to Jason continuing as? Hearing none, okay. NISRA Board of Director.
That's typically me and the Park District's part of NISRA, Northern Illinois Special Recreation Association. There's 13 member districts part of NISRA, and each district has a member on the board.
You enjoy doing that? Well, anybody opposed to taking continuing as the NISRA Board of Directors? Hearing none. I think we'll continue. And then Crystal Lake Park and Native Foundation. Who's that?
So I've looked at the bylaws of the foundation. It doesn't, it provides that the president of the park district and executive director may be ex officio members of, non-voting members of the board. So if you don't do anything, you're not. You want to appoint somebody else, a delegate, you don't have. It's non-voting.
Just have representation foundation.
And it doesn't require any, you're ex officio in certain cases.
So you and I can both go to these meetings.
And myself and one staff member for all these times.
Gary Johnson has been our board representative for the last several years.
There's no board representative, but if you all want to delegate something.
Does that mean?
Is there anyone that would like to be a representative to NISRA here?
Not necessarily to the foundation.
Foundation.
The foundation bylaws that I reviewed today, and I represent nonprofits to a large extent, don't require any, you're not the park district doesn't, your initial board was elected by the park district, appointed by park district, but after the initial board, then the members of the foundation elect their directors. So I think what they've been doing is relying on us to elect directors, it seems. But in any event, nothing has to be done because ex officio means just by nature of your office as president of park district, nature of your office as executive director, you are on.
Done. Okay. We're moving on to consent agenda. First, like the Park Initiative Foundation mini golf fundraiser. Is there a motion to approve? Any discussion?
For that, since there's no meetings that we can just do.
So that the custom is that you can have a roll call when you want, you Jason, and I can take that for you, or you can say, I'll approve.
Okay. Yeah, is anybody opposed for that? Okay, so the fundraiser. Moving on to new business. The updated full-time compensation structure. Does anybody want to move to approve that?
I move to approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I'm glad we're compensating staff at a fair rate, and I appreciate our staff's diligence for making sure we're within the mean of where we should be.
Is this, okay, I made a mistake. We're still on the subject. I'd like to make a motion to table this.
Well, I think that we have to vote on her motion first, unless you're amending her motion. Are you amending her
I
motion?
amend her motion to make a motion to table it.
Okay. So,
Can we ask why you'd like to table it?
with tabling, there's no discussion, so we're gonna vote now. So, who's in favor of tabling? Who's in favor of not tabling? Okay, so it's been tabled. Next, moving on to the brochure bid. Has anyone had a chance to, well, first of all, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the brochure bid?
I make a motion to approve the brochure bid.
Anybody want
I would
to say,
second that motion.
any discussion?
It looks like Jenny, you and your staff did a really good job on.
Thank you.
bids.
Well, all in favor of approving the brochure bid, I guess raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Looks like that passed unanimously. Moving on to meeting dates. Anybody have any, proposal about meeting dates?
Beg your pardon?
Once the, we're listed, we're okay. No, there's no amendments, like.
I think they would probably approve them once before.
This is a discussion point,
Or make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to move it to Mondays.
Is there a second?
Second.
How would you handle the holidays?
We would knock it to the next week.
Or it could be moved to the Tuesday.
Or move that to Tuesday. We'll figure it out.
Well, we have to publish it, you know, dependent.
Right.
So,
I mean, we need to know when the meetings are.
Could I ask how long has it been on Thursdays?
I've been here 15 years. I don't think it's 15 years.
And that,
I just think with the public, knowing when the meetings are, switching it to a Monday might create some confusion.
and these dates were published before you guys filed your nomination papers, so if you wanted to know when the meetings were when you were running, you knew when they were, you knew what the applications were.
That's true, I just,
These will have to be published.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
These will have to be published.
Yeah. I think it'll be public, as a new board, we have a prerogative to, assert our prerogative. Yeah.
So
So,
that's clear.
all in favor, or any more discussion?
Well, we can still need to figure out the holiday.
So, can I ask-
Tuesday or following Monday.
Go ahead, Karen. then I'll-
I haven't checked the city of Crystal Lake or any other board meetings in the area. Are they on Mondays? Is there any conflicts?
City's on
Tuesdays.
There are other park boards that. I would say half a dozen have their board meetings on Monday. In the Chicago
Could I
area.
ask if we could bring this to the June? Well, I was gonna say bring it to the June committee meeting so that I could go through and sort out all the details, some of the things Eric's brought up.
I think we're gonna sort out the details after we vote on it. I think the best way to do it is to,
Well, we have to vote with specific dates, so we just say for Tuesday or the Monday, we might be able to, your action.
so then let's do the Tuesday after.
the Tuesday, yeah, the
After
next day.
The holidays on Monday.
So are we saying the first and third Tuesdays of the month?
First and third Monday. And if it happens to fall on a holiday, then be knocked to Tuesday.
First and third Mondays. Tuesday after a holiday.
Agree to vote. Everybody opposed to changing the date? Okay, everybody in favor of changing the date to Monday?
So we'll still have to meet on June 1st or 5th. And then we could approve the new dates at that meeting, because we have to give 10 days notice of changes of dates.
Sure.
So if we approve it,
The meeting date has been approved, we'll just give notice, the notice won't start until the required times. I'll get it published, so the mid-June meeting will be the Monday, first Monday.
so the June board meeting will be the first Monday.
So I have a question, sorry. I'm new on the board with you guys. I mean, I've been on the board for 4 years. With the knowledge that it's gonna be on Thursdays, so I'm kind of conflicted with this now, so I don't understand how the board gets to choose a different day when I was voted, knowing that the meetings were on Thursdays.
Yeah, that kind of stuff happens.
The open meetings act allows you to amend your schedule.
I also need to revise the policies of meetings, because the policy it states the dates and the times, so that will be revised as well.
Could be a problem. Moving on to the Barlina Barn memo. Anyone might make a motion about the Barlina Barn memo?
I'd like to move to approve the Barlina Barnett memo.
Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'm really glad to see this memo coming into place, and I wish our historic preservation team had stayed, or the commission members had stayed for this discussion. What I'd really like to see, I talked with Jason a little bit about this, the city is waiting for this. I'd like to approve it as is, but I'd like to also at the same time move to ask the city to expand its scope beyond Barlina Barn and create a memo that can then later be approved that says we have a working relationship with the Historic Preservation Committee for all historic properties within the park district.
I'm not sure what you're proposing, because I haven't had, I've read this memo, but you want us to approve a memo that hasn't been created yet?
No, I didn't ask you to approve it. I made the motion to approve this.
This one.
But in part of the discussion, I think this is limited to just the Barlina barn. And I'd like to see us move towards a larger agreement in the spirit of working together, that all historic properties, we work with them.
Is there a second for the motion to?
I would second that.
Second. Any more discussion? So I think that we're voting on approving the Barlina Barn memo as it is right now. All in favor, raise your hand. Anybody opposed? No. Moving on to ordinance 1141, the Fifth Lake Pier and anti-funneling ordinance. Anyone have a motion about that?
What's this discussion?
Actually, this was put on as a actual item.
It's under
That's
discussion.
discussion.
You can discuss it, you can take action on open meetings act allows you to take action on anything that's on the agenda.
This is on here as discussion. If you're coming in as the new board president and trying to vote on something then it's up for discussion, listed for discussion, and that affects every member of the Crystal Lake community, I would say that's overshooting by a lot.
Well, I haven't asked for this.
Opinion on that? Yes.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's on the agenda, open meetings act allows you to take action on it. Used to be that things didn't have to be on the agenda to take action, but now they do, they just have to be on the agenda. Incidentally, when I was on the board, I asked for this to be put not as discussion, so I don't know why it's in discussion, but it doesn't matter, because if you want to take action on it.
Is there any motions about 11-41?
I think it's a great thing, it's absolutely needed. Eric Anderson himself has said that we absolutely need anti-funneling protection for the lake.
Well, you're misquoting what I said. What I said is the park district should not do it. When I was on the board, that was my position. It should be the city and the village. And I said that the park district cabinet has created dysfunction because now the city won't do it. That was what I said. In any event, we have it.
Yeah, I think we need a motion before we have discussion. Is there a motion?
No, you don't actually need it. We can discuss it and make a motion afterwards. It doesn't have to be one direction on this. On any item.
Right, if you want to discuss matters first, you certainly.
Any more discussion?
So the park district created this ordinance because there were no anti-funneling laws or ordinances. Well, there was, Lakewood had one, which they weren't at that time enforcing, and there was nothing from Crystal Lake. And to protect the property owners and to protect the lake, we created this ordinance. And I remember you being at the meeting, and I remember Eric being at, and I remember Jason being at the meeting. It was quite an ugly meeting. This ordinance has done, it's cooled down inappropriate development, it's stopped the funneling, and it's achieved its purpose. We grandfathered everything in that was currently in position on the lake. It was not onerous to any property owner on the lake, and it helped maintain property owners' access to their property and stop inappropriate marinas from being built. The intent of the lake, of this ordinance is correct, and the park district does own 92% of the lake bottom. So we have the right to control the property that we own. That's why we pushed, that's why we passed this ordinance. It was done in the spirit of protecting the lake and protecting people's rights.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
Yeah, and I don't mean to be argumentative, but the next item up for discussion encourages funneling.
So let's stay on this topic, so. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just, I think it's an overreach for the park district to have any authority in this regard. And I've had many constituents approach me about the pier ordinance. And although it's not necessarily being enforced, it's there. And by park district proclamation, they can come in and potentially enforce it. And I've had dozens of people approach me and say, this is a problem that shouldn't necessarily exist. And I personally don't think there's any additional marinas or access to the lake, you know, between the South Shore Association and the North Shore Association. Their access has been written in stone for decades and candidly can't be stopped, especially by the park district. I mean, that's something for the city and the village to have control over. It's just, I don't see it at the park district's place.
This ordinance does nothing to control access through the piers that the associations own. This is not aimed at that. It's aimed at further development. And if somebody wanted to further develop, they can approach us with plans so that it is controlled and witnessed and appropriate.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion eliminating the pier ordinance and anti-funneling.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Real quick, but I'm sorry. To just be clear, it would be paragraph D of the ordinance, 1141D, which is special provisions for Crystal Lake.
It'd be the entire ordinance.
That's not on the
No,
agenda.
no, the ordinance applies to all property, right?
Correct, and that's why I don't want people putting swing sets up in parks.
You
as they
just,
back.
the pure ordinance and the anti-funneling ordinance.
Right, so that would be item D.
Yeah.
Paragraph D of the ordinance would be what would be rescinded.
All opposed to getting rid of the ordinance? Okay, all in favor of getting rid of the ordinance? Ordinance. Moving on to dry storage at West Beach. Any discussion about that?
This has been requested by the public for years and years and years. We do not have enough dry storage for non-motorized craft. Non-motorized craft are required to stay within closely guarded bounds on the lake. No, non-motorized craft do not cause problems on the lake. It's big boats with big motors. Those create problems on the lake, but we have no authority over those. What we're just trying to do is allow the people with a non-motorized craft to have what, 30 more spots?
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take 30 more spots. 30 more spots is not a problem. It is in fact doing the public a favor. We're responding to a need.
And there's 30 spots currently? How many, there's 30 currently?
Yes,
So would and I have not seen the plan, but would the plan be to build the same racking system up against the fence?
that would have to be part of the discussion. This is something that wouldn't take place for this summer. The idea was to take a look at both the areas and pretty much mirror what we've got on one side over on the other side.
And I mean, I look around the lake as you walk around, you see these kayak and these storage spots. Every one of them is very tastefully done. I feel, it's my opinion. I feel like if you keep adding more and more to it, it's going to look like, I don't want to see a junkyard, but it'll look, I just don't think it would be as simple and pleasing as you walk around. I understand that it adds more access and slips and whatnot, but
I don't see how you could say that, because if you haven't even developed a plan how it's going to look, I mean, you could just add another another layer on top. There's different ways it could be done. But I think it's a win-win for our community because if people have to drive their car through the boat launch to drop off a kayak, I think that eliminates even traffic within the parking lot. You know, if people just have to go and unlock their kayak and put it out in the lake, I don't see the problem with that. And I know anecdotally, we were talking about that would be a safety concern, and I vehemently disagree with that. I don't think you could have a million kayaks on the lake and it wouldn't be a safety concern. Seriously.
I totally disagree with that, but
Well, I mean,
Kayaks don't cause problems.
I'm more concerned about the individual in the kayak, not the kayak. It's hard to see something that's parallel to the water that's that.
well,
It is, I've been on the lake my whole life, it is, I mean, if you haven't, it's just, it is what it is.
I guess the evidence of having kayaks being hit by boats, I've not seen that. I'm not aware of that. I think if there's any problem with kayaks on the lake, it might be more due to some of our rentals because the people that are using them don't necessarily know exactly what they're doing all the time, whereas the people who would own a kayak are the ones that would know what they're doing.
Is this structure under construction right now?
No, it's,
No,
no.
There's just funds budgeted for it. And
My concern is, going to Kathy's comment about, staying inside the buoys, paraphrasing, I apologize, am I getting that right? I mean, there is definitely a safety issue. And it's not necessarily the park rentals, because they're advised to stay within the buoys during wake hours, if I'm correct. Doesn't always happen. I don't think necessarily the people working the counters are necessarily being boisterous enough about that, but there's not the practice of kayaks and other human powered devices staying within the buoys during wake hours is not implemented. I mean, there is a significant safety factor, and the problem is exacerbated by the fact that candidly, the village of Lakewood that patrols the lake does nothing about that. And I personally witnessed numerous near misses on dozens of occasions. And until it's all good until it's bad. And by bad, I mean somebody gets seriously injured or worse. And that is the concern on my part. Maybe before anything happens with this particular discussion, maybe we consider approaching the village and asking for greater enforcement. Or enforcement at any level. I don't know. I mean, I see the point of wanting people to have access, but I also dread what I see as the inevitable, which is somebody gets hurt.
Well, I just think that if you add 30 slots, it doesn't necessarily mean that all 30 of those slots are going to be used on a daily basis. It's just whenever the people decide that they want to go use the kayak, and then that's when they go out of the lake. And I imagine that many times they choose to use their kayak during the wake hours.
Okay, is there any more discussion about this topic? Does anyone have a motion to make?
No, it's really up for discussion.
I'd like to make a motion to just leave it as is. I'm not a big fan of the park district storing boats in general, sailboat, kayaks. I honestly think that property, if you ever go by it or the fenced in area, can be repurposed for something else.
Okay, so there's a motion to not build these. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of not building these, raise your hands. All in favor of building, raise your hand. If you want to take that out of the budget. Moving on to annual planning calendar. Do we already do that?
no, so what the annual planning calendar, that's just it for informational purposes for the board. Basically, it's a month by month snapshot of what may or may not occur every month, more likely will occur. Annual things that happen cyclically for us. So it's really just for informational purposes for the board to have, so, and I will update this based on what we just did with the meeting schedule, so. No, there's no action, just.
Okay, health insurance renewal.
So for the health insurance renewal, the funding for this was approved in the budget, and what we normally do is we get our final rates typically after the budget's approved, based on the cycle of how the whole process works with our broker. So we're just really updating the board on what we're looking at for this year. Initially, we were provided with 32% increase in health insurance prior to the broker going for us to look at reductions. To cut to the chase, we'll be changing from United Healthcare to Blue Cross Blue Shield. Our increase will be 22%. And we also worked into the deal that a rate cap not to exceed 9.5% for next year. United Healthcare was not willing to work with us on that. So that's another reason we switched to Blue Cross, or will be switching to Blue Cross. We've also eliminated one of the two HSA plans we had and switching it to a very rich HMO plan, which is significantly cheaper than the PPO that we offer and the HSA plan that we offer. So we're anticipating a fair amount of staff transitioning over to that plan because the benefits are better and it's less expensive. So that's where we're at with that. Just to give the board some information, currently the staff contribute 20% to their insurance plan and the park district covers 80%. The renewal is within what was budgeted, and we don't anticipate there being any issues there.
Is there more than one option for employees?
Yeah, we offer three. So there's a PPO, an HSA, and an HMO.
No action required on that.
No, just informational, and if there's any questions, we'd be happy to
So
answer.
moving on to reports to the board.
Eric, do you have anything?
No, just yes. So, you guys know me as a commissioner, but, I have represented park districts for 30 years, and I represent not-for-profits. I represent I'm general counsel to the Hadley Planetarium, who's housed in the Chicago Park District. I represent Pleasantville Park District, used to Hickory Hills Park District, Lynn Oaks, Olympia Fields. And I came from a firm that has been around since the 20s. That's how I learned. And I think that we did a little different because we just kept that style of representing park districts. So we just focused on the park district code and what this allows the commissioners to do and try to peel away all the other stuff. IEPD didn't get elected. Jason didn't get elected. You guys got elected. So my job is to keep that focus so that you guys can use Jason and staff and myself to lead the park district and not be confused with IEPD or Purdue or anybody else, because you have the right to run the park district the way you want to run it, right? And you have the right to tax your neighbors. If they don't pay the tax, they can lose their property. So it's a huge job. And if you don't see it from that perspective, and I think that's how it was as a board member, if you don't see it from that perspective, you really kind of lose what your job is. So I want to help get that stuff aside so you guys can focus on really leading the park district.
Thank you, Eric. Well said. Well said.
As far as my report, I had one additional thing to add. For the board members that were just sworn in, you have to file a new statement of economic interest within 30 days of being seated. So from 30 days from today, the Plum County website and do that again for 2025. The one you filed as part of your petition packet was for 2024. So just giving you guys a heads up on that. I'll forward an email that Tina got from the county, just so you have a little more direction on.
And I believe they should be receiving an email directly to your park district email as well.
Yeah. Other than that, I had nothing to add. Tina, anything to your report?
Nothing to add. The report was in the packet. If you have any questions.
Sure.
Just that we open our beaches a week from Saturday. We've got dance recitals and summer camp starting. So it's a busy time and we're about to go from basically busy to crazy busy, but it's exciting and it should be a good summer.
Jenny?
Okay, appreciate the brochure print bid approval and we're already The schedule has been sent out for the fall activity guide already, and we're rolling. Right now, we have several video tours. We're working with a drone and interior photography company to get some video tours done of some of our rental facilities. Rental business is booming, and this will just be an added feature, and I believe customers and residents will greatly appreciate that. We
Jen,
are,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Do we have any plans for doing drone tours of any of our parks?
Yeah, well, actually, since Lakewood Meadows has begun, we've been, there's been a drone operator going out at times of great activity. He's archiving all the footage and everything, and it'll culminate at our grand opening celebration end of June, hopefully with and then with all the pieces of time lapse, he's going to put together the entire park production. So expanding on that, we are working to get an interior exterior tour of the Racquet Club with the newer courts, outdoor courts. And would love to dive into Veteran Acres maybe as a great project. So yeah, definitely plans on highlighting, you know, what we should all be very proud of. So we're going to be working with day camp staff to create a new promo video. So that the one we have currently is several years old, and a lot has changed with camp and huge amount of growth. So we're really excited about that, working on that this summer. We are pleased to announce that we have our first marketing intern starting May 21st. Jack Newport is a student at the University of Iowa, and he'll be joining us starting May 21, probably through the first week of September. And he'll be kind of flexing 20 to 30 hours a week, depending on what we have for him. We've got a multitude of projects for him. Very excited to get going with that. And everybody likes to hear about upcoming publications. We'll be sending out an e-newsletter prior to beach opening weekend. That's coming up soon. We'll have our June Connect e-newsletter, and that'll go out May 29th, highlighting everything as we get rolling towards June. The summer park report print newsletter will go out June 23rd. And finally, as I mentioned, the fall activity guide, staff are already working on that. And we'll be working on that through going live on August 18th. So it'll be here before we know it.
This time of year, Park Services team is pretty busy, all is well, and we're looking forward to getting these up and running for the Memorial Day weekend and continuing on. All right.
How about the new facility?
New facilities in progress, we have some, in fact, we have a meeting coming up after Memorial Day weekend with the architects to kind of do a workshop planning. Some updates in that, so we have it. Yeah, things are going with that as well. So also doing some interior work in-house with the current staff, Park Services team. So that's slowly moving along here.
Did we do in-house the renovations upstairs in the main lobby?
No.
It looks great. Did you change the paint color?
Not really.
It looked so much brighter. It looked really dead for a while.
I added some like.
Yeah, it looks a lot better.
Amy, any updates?
Only the fact that this is outdated and we're 2 weeks further on the construction of everything, so things are going well and we're very busy with all of our contractors.
I've asked Jason if the board could be invited to go and see the park before it opens. I would love to do that.
Lakewood Meadows.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for the reports. Moving on to matters from the board. Would the commissioners like to have the floor? If you'd like to, is there anything you want to say?
Yes, I would. I would like to congratulate our staff on receiving the Excellence in Financial Reporting Award. I was thrilled that we got it again. I know it represents a large degree of integrity and hard work on your part. So thank you for that. I'm
Thank you,
really
Kathy.
proud that we got that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I would like to propose that we try something different. Which is with the Barlina barn, we're unsure of what we want to do and how we're gonna pay for it, right? So I propose that we bring in a consultant who happens to be my husband to do a customer-centric design meeting. Customer-centric design is really a growing movement where it gathers feedback on what the needs are, what the challenges are, what the hopes are, what the fears are, and helps kind of flesh out a grid of what to look at to move forward. We couldn't really do it as a board meeting, I don't think. I think it would be something that we should invite people from the Historic Preservation Commission, some staff, some board members, and see if we can come up with some ideas for staff to work on. Nothing would be decided other than an exercise in fleshing out ideas. And so are we open to trying that?
You'd have to first decide whether your husband's gonna have an economic interest.
Yes, no economic interest. He'd be donating this time.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to say?
It's a new way of looking at things.
Well, I'd like to have something to say. I'm Fred Teasinger, for those of you that don't know me.
Oh, are you asking, am I done?
I thought you were done.
Oh, no, I thought we were asking to see whether we'd like to do this meeting.
Oh, but I don't know that we can, are you making a motion? to do that?
No, because it's not an official board action. Would you be open if I tried to take some
Kathy, that would
steps
be
forward?
great. That would be great.
You can get something on the agenda, just one of them.
No, we actually only need one board member to get something on the
I
agenda.
believe the president can put it on the agenda with 2 board members.
No, the bylaws say only any board member can get something on the agenda. Great, I'm sure you will. Okay, and then the last thing I want to say is that I hope the board will work together. Tonight's meeting is clear evidence that we are not working together. And I'm really not happy about this. You were elected to serve the needs of the public and to help the park district. I hope that becomes the priority and the foremost thing that comes to that you bring to the meeting, because right now it feels like cronyism and it feels like you all set an agenda before you came. And I'm appalled at that. I'm really and truly appalled. So I hope.
I think you should refrain from personal attacks in your comments, and if you cannot, then we don't want you to speak.
Okay, you can feel how you want, but so can I.
No, I have the floor.
No, so I hope that we can come and work together going forward.
And
I'm done now.
I would like to add, when I first got elected and I put my name in on the ballot, that I wasn't anticipating turning this position into a position of politics. I was in terms, thinking about how could I benefit my community, and that's the only reason why I got the petitions going and joined the park district. And the only agenda that I have is to try to see if I can make sure that the employees that work here for the park district are being treated fairly and compensated fairly, because I've worked for the park district in the summertime for over 25 years. So that's my feelings.
I ran for this position to represent the taxpayer. Everything I do going forward for at least the next 4 years will be based upon how the taxpayer views things. I work for the taxpayer.
Did you not come tonight with a set agenda between everyone here?
Don't have any agenda.
It sure felt like it.
I've been reading this for a couple of weeks. I knew what was coming.
I didn't.
I don't like the accusation that
that
there's cronyism. This is ridiculous. Let's not be mudslinging. This is crazy.
Okay, you guys, we're gonna move on. We're gonna close down that part of the meeting, and what are we gonna do now? Executive session?
I've got it.
Okay.
Usually we reconvene from executive session.
You can also, we can continue the meeting, just so you know, to.
Yeah.
That's something.
So nothing more to do.
Yeah, so we can-
So, we're gonna adjourn, motion to adjourn. Good meeting, everybody.
You can just.